Well, good morning. My name is Tom Martin, Jr. We'll go ahead and start at the beginning. I left house when I was 16, joined the military at 18. Jesus wasn't really that prevalent in my life, but I knew that there was a Jesus. Joined the military in 2005 to be a combat demolitions engineer. Did 20 weeks of training, and then we got selected to go to a canine school to search for the roadside bombs that they were setting in Afghanistan and Iraq. Shortly after that, almost immediately after that, I went on my first deployment to Afghanistan. Stayed for 6 months, came back for a little bit, went back over for another 6 more months, came home, went to some sergeant's courses so I can get promoted, and some other demolition schools, rifleman schools, things that I would need on my deployments. During this whole time, it was pretty easy. It was just everyday things. But in 2010, I was on my last deployment, and I was with 1st Group Special Forces. I was wounded in action on October 18th, 2010. I fractured 5 vertebrae in my back. My left leg is a loss of use. Fractured my tibia and fibula, lost 2.5 inches of bone. Had to have a bone graft. My bones weren't growing back together. 25% of my body is covered in burns, and I also have a brain injury. I was then sent to Walter Reed Army Hospital, where they were going to cut off my left leg due to severe injuries. But since I had a very bad burn percentage of 25% in my leg was a possible amputation, they decided to send me to Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas. Spent the next 2 years in San Antonio going through surgeries. I've had probably 5 to 6 on my left leg, just trying to keep it. I had an external fixator which held my leg apart when there were no bones in between. Multiple skin grafts covering me from the back of my shoulders to the back of my knees. A lot of time just laying in bed, a lot of physical therapy. God still wasn't that prevalent in my life at this point, but I had a random stranger one day come to me in the elevator in the hospital and asked if she could pray for me. And I've had 9 surgeries on my leg by this point. This woman prayed over my leg, a total stranger, and then within 2 months, I had grown back 2 inches of bones in my leg, had the cage that held my leg together pulled off, and was walking on my own. Shortly after that, we found us a church in San Antonio, and I got saved. That would be late 2011. Fall of 2012, I got baptized by the youth minister of our church, who was a good friend of mine. Reintegration in civilian life was horrible. I wasn't ready to be done with my military service, so reintegration is taking a lot longer. Everything is different from what you've been taught and what you've had ingrained into your body. People in the civilian world, they don't understand because they've never had to go through it, but the brotherhood, the selflessness that you will have in the military is non-existent in the civilian world. You won't have very many people go out of their way to do something beneficial for you for absolutely nothing. And that's the one thing I do like about this church, is nobody's ever expecting anything. They are just generally here to help. And one thing to help make veterans feel more at home is don't make them feel like an outcast. Make them feel just like everybody else, because they are just like everybody else. They're struggling just the same as everybody else is. Just may be a different struggle than what you're struggling with. The church does a very good job making me feel welcome and making everybody feel welcome. And it's not just because I'm a veteran, or not because of my story of how I was never supposed to walk again and did. They took me in before they knew all that. Pastor Ken and Dennis just saw me standing there by myself and thought that I needed a friend. They do a pretty good job of searching you out. Hi, my name's Tommy Martin, deployed to Afghanistan, was wounded in combat, and this is my story.